Okay, let me preface this by saying, is that the right word to read? I don't know. Let me start this off by just saying that yes, I am indeed into My Little Pony. Specifically, Friendship is Magic. And even worse on top of that, I actually do enjoy the Equestria Girls series. Specifically, I love the second movie, which this music is from. I really do enjoy it, specifically because of one character, and that's Sunset Shimmer, and her quest for redemption for starting off as a villain to an uneasy ally to basically the leader of this group of girls for the most part. It was this very interesting transition that actually kept me watching for the most part, where even a lot of fans of the My Little Pony series have just dropped off by the dozens for the most part. But I kind of kept up with it because I've noticed for the most part, one thing that has kind of kept me going for the most part is just the fact that I kind of accepted it for all its faults for the most part. I found that a lot of people just can't really seem to, accept the fact that some episodes aren't that great and some episodes are actually pretty good. And I felt that way from the very beginning. I will start this off by saying I hated the first episode, but I just kind of kept watching and I enjoyed it for the most part, and I kept rolling with this series. So I just want it to be known. It's just like, yeah, I enjoy this series for the most part. And I'm just going to keep watching, especially now that it's the final season of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic series. But I also want to know where the Equestria Girl series goes now that they're kind of taking it into a more serialized series for the most part. They're continuing to roll with it. And this movie kind of makes it seem like they're going to make it a regular occurring series. So I'm wondering where they're going to go with it from here on out, especially now that, Friendship is Magic is on its final series, final season. But let's get into the movie proper for the most part. And that is, well, not so much a movie, but a special, I guess you could say, called Spring Breakdown, where we see somehow the girls have organized a whole, spring break vacation on this cruise liner where basically most of the kids from the school have all shown up, everyone's relaxing, and it's just like, how did you get the money to do something like this? I'm all for that whole school functions and stuff along those lines, but once you have something that would cost this much money, it's just like, yeah, I don't know how you're doing this. But we also unfortunately see that Applejack is very sick. She is an earth loving girl, down home, all that good stuff. So just being on a boat like this is just completely taking her off her, mojo for the most part. We also find out that Twilight Sparkle, also known as Sci-Twi, has actually organized this whole event, very much like her equestrian counterpart. So she's the organizer, she's overseeing everything, and she's really adamant about people having fun on this whole adventure. Meanwhile, Rainbow Dash is just looking for trouble, straight out. Because of their various past adventures, she's at the ready, a little too much so, for any kind of trouble that could come their way. Because that's just how things have gone for them. Trouble just seems to find them sometimes. So she's, become very adamant about being at the ready for that, which makes sense to a degree, but she's become a little too overly zealous about this, thinking that some kind of monster will come out and attack them during the cruise. Much to the chagrin of, I think I used that word right, much to the dismay of the rest of the cast who just want to have a relaxing time on the ship for the most part. And they basically have to talk down Rainbow Dash for the most part. Just kind of ignore her to a certain degree and just kind of, get Sci-Twi a little bit more, comfortable with what's going on, as she's having doubts about how well she can keep this whole situation fairly organized. Which makes sense. It makes sense that she wouldn't be too certain about this, as since this is a big undertaking doing something like this. But once they reach international waters, which I feel like this is a setup for like a Bermuda Triangle situation, Rarity is all about the shopping because there's no more taxing, I think it was, on clothing and stuff like that. So they all split off into their various ways to do their own thing on the ship, with Pinkie Pie wanting to get a taste of this. I think it was like this triple layer chocolate bun cake or something absurdly sugary and delicious, and I totally want some. Unfortunately, Rainbow Dash goes for the chef, tackling her, causing the bun cake to be ruined, thinking that the chef was actually threatening Pinkie Pie with a spatula or something, and they end up getting both banned from the cafeteria area. And I've never seen Pinkie Pie more just angry, just annoyed, just seething, I guess you could say. We've seen her angry, but not seething like this. Then we cut off to Fluttershy, naturally in the petting zoo, which, why would you have a petting zoo on a ship? That's so odd. But we have this whole situation where she's trying to get close with all these animals, specifically this little bunny, only for Rainbow Dash to pop in and say that the bunny might actually be this devious monster in disguise. And her, overly zealous situation going on here actually scares off all the animals, much to the dismay of Fluttershy. And then we have Applejack, poor Applejack, who continues to be just phenomenally seasick during this whole situation. And ultimately, Applejack thinks that somehow Rainbow Jack is like possessed and is unable to speak because of some curse that's been placed upon her, not realizing that it's just like, no, it's just that she's seasick, dude. Like, no. And Applejack ultimately, ends up being shaken up by, Rainbow Dash, into the point where she just finally just tosses her cookies right overboard, and she is just not happy with Rainbow Dash. And Rainbow Dash starts getting exasperated to the point where she starts calling off, has anyone seen any bad magic? And she's pointed in the direction of a stage where you have a few old men kind of passed out sleeping. So she thinks she's found some actual dark magic, only for it to be revealed that it's Trixie, giving off a poor magic performance for the most part. But Rainbow Dash actually gets an idea from Trixie in her comment that, good magic usually attracts bad magic, and so Rainbow Dash gets an idea from there. Meanwhile, Rarity goes on a complete shopping spree, spending very little money for a whole bunch of swag, and she also ends up encountering a cabin boy, I think it is, or a deckhand or whatever, who has this really weirdly over-the-top Cockney accent. I still don't know what's up with this dude at the end of this movie, but, his accent was just too jarring. And he ends up kind of tagging along with Rarity, carrying her bags and stuff. And so we see that the girls ultimately have a performance they'll be putting on, on the cruise, because this is kind of like the Archies or stuff like that, where it's just like, hey, we do a lot of action, solve mysteries, and then we have a musical performance. It's fun for the kiddies and all that good stuff. And, that's a lot of what ended up, really selling the Equestria Girls line for the most part, at least for me, and that's the music. Daniel Ingram, you are far too cool for school, man. But Saitwai kind of tries to perk up her friends for the most part, but they're a little too down over everything that Rainbow Dash has, basically the suffering that she's caused for them over the course of this cruise. And, Sunset Shimmer being very empathetic to the whole situation, as we ultimately find out she feels that the whole situation with the magic within the human world is ultimately her fault because she unleashed it. She feels that Rainbow Dash's overzealous, you know, um, nagging on the dark magic in their world ultimately is her responsibility to try to fix, as they just want to have a normal, nice vacation. So when Rainbow Dash makes the suggestion that they should transform during their performance, because she plays it off like it'll be just like this really fun thing to have during their whole performance, but ultimately she's using it as a ploy to draw out the dark magic. But Sunset Shimmer pulls her aside and it's just like, look, you need to stop. You're ruining this whole cruise for your friends, you know? And I'm kind of iffy about this whole situation, as it's played off like Sunset Shimmer and the others are being wet blankets. They're not believing in their friend and all that good stuff. But Rainbow Dash has not given them a reason to believe in her. But this whole discussion is ultimately tabled with the whole love situation with Rarity, who is deeply infatuated with this weirdly cockney boy. And during their performance, which comes at the start of a really nasty storm, I'm surprised they even bothered continuing on with the concert with the storm brewing in the background. But, they do their performance with a very nice song for the most part. Honestly, this series does really nice songs, really great songs, with Applejack doing most of the vocals during this one. But, naturally you have everyone else doing a lot of the backing and so on and so forth. With even this little moment where Sunset winks at her old flame, and we've seen them kind of slowly getting back together through various specials and shorts and stuff like that. Various moments that hint that they might be, getting back into a relationship. But, luckily this series doesn't dwell too much on relationship stuff. So it's almost a non-issue. They give little hints here and there and then they just move on. And so, with everything going so well, Rainbow Dash suggests that they kind of pony up, or, whatever they do. They still haven't decided on what their battle cry basically is, and that's a point of contention within this. And, Sidetwi agrees, Sunset agrees, so they all kind of start ponying up and doing their whole light up thing and whatever, only for the lights, the power to just start overloading on the ship. And, everyone starts getting a little worried at first, and Rainbow Dash calls out, "Oh, it's the dark magic, it's going down," which immediately starts a panic as they're just like, "Oh god, the ship is sinking." But after a while they start to calm down, they get some flashlights, and they kind of chill out for the most part. But with the stalled engine, Sidetwi is trying to do her best to kind of handle the situation and keep it well in hand, so she goes off to try to repair the engine. Meanwhile, Rainbow Dash is in full, battle mode. She's just like, "Let's go, guys, let's do it, let's take on whatever bad mojo is out there." But nobody really believes her, and they're just want to chill out. They just think, oh, there's engine trouble, Twilight will get it back online, and then they'll just go about having a fun time. And, we kind of get to the point where, we see Sidetwi, which shouldn't be in the situation. It really shouldn't, where she basically knows more about the whole engine stalling problem than the actual crew of the ship, which is just like, that's worrying in and of itself, that a whole cruise ship would not know how to handle this kind of a situation. But, she starts to get that back online, whereas Pinky goes in to try to get that taste of that bun cake, only to be accosted by the chef, who is like, "No, you're banned. I don't care what the situation is outside, you're banned." So we also have a moment where Rarity comes upon the boy she's interested in, who I think he called himself Ragamuffin, or I don't know if he was just referring to himself as a ragamuffin, but he's doing like an Irish jig on stage, and I'm just like, wait, if you're Cockney, how are you doing an Irish jig? You're straight river dancing right here, man. I don't understand. But she just falls deeper in love with him, but she can't place his nationality. Meanwhile, Rainbow's a little down on herself for the most part, feeling that maybe she might have been overzealous in her pursuit of dark magic and all that good stuff. But, the storm starts to swell and rage out of control, and she sees a symbol in the water, the symbol of the Storm King from the My Little Pony movie. And I love that because, it shows a lot of continuity. A lot of people were under the assumption that the whole My Little Pony movie would be this contained thing, but no, there's plot elements from the movie that cross over into the series. And I know a lot of people didn't care too much for the movie. I wasn't too up on the movie. It wasn't the best, but I do still enjoy that certain things have impacted, the rest of the series for the most part. It wasn't just this offhanded thing that never was referenced again. It's just like, hey, you remember that thing with the Storm King? It's just like, watch the movie. Watch the movie. If you come this far, watch the movie. But Rainbow Dash sees this as a sign that dark magic is in fact afoot, and she tries to rally everyone else, taking them from very really important situations to them. Sidetwi almost had the ship, back online, but, Rainbow Dash's intervention caused more damage than anything else. Pinkie Pie almost got that taste of that bun cake, but, splat right on the floor, and the chef sees this and just sees Pinkie Pie and is just like, yeah, you're banned for life. And, Rarity almost gets her some, but, she's dragged away from that as well. And, you can see it in everyone's eyes that they are not happy with Rainbow Dash, but they're giving her the benefit of the doubt by following her, only to see nothing in the water. And, Sidetwi is just not having Rainbow Dash at this point. It's just like, you've gotten out of control, you're dragging us into situations that do not exist, you need to calm your ass down. But, Rainbow Dash continues to try to rally them, to defeat the dark magic, to take them down. But Sidetwi kind of calls them out. It's just like, well, what will we do with this? Do we even have a plan going into any of this? We don't know what this dark magic is, and even if we did, how would we actually handle this? They've usually only dealt with situations as they came. So actually going to confront something just right there, right then, they don't really have too much experience to really know how to handle this situation. But Rainbow Dash just thinks that Sidetwi is afraid of really being a hero. But Sidetwi is just like, no, we're not heroes. We're just girls who happen to have magical powers, which in and of itself is a bullshit line, but whatever. But I'm still kind of not on Rainbow Dash's side for this, because it's just like, there's no real proof that she's presented to her friends to actually get them to believe her. Even though she is right, she hasn't done enough to actually do anything to actually have earned their trust on this situation. But she still tries in vain to rally the girls, only to just not get any kind of backup for this. So Rainbow Dash decides she'll go it alone, take a lifeboat out, and try to go in the direction of the dark magic. With Sidetwi kind of feeling a little bad about not really believing Rainbow Dash, but again, Rainbow Dash has not given enough of a reason for her to be believed. I know this is a series meant for children, lessons to be learned and all that, but the lesson here doesn't quite gel with me, and I don't feel good about this being a lesson for kids, because it's just like, no, you should have proof. Yes, you should trust your friends, but when they're just kind of dragging you into situations which don't feel quite right, maybe you should trust your gut sometimes. But, ultimately Sidetwi's gut tells her otherwise, where she later says she feels bad for not trusting Rainbow Dash, and Sunset Simmer, wanting to be the best friend she can be, and having a little bit of a gay moment. Let's be real, it's a gay moment. Drags Sidetwi along to find Rainbow Dash and try to, at least try to help her for the most part. Actually explore it and put the whole thing to rest. At the most, they owe Rainbow Dash as a good friend that much to just kind of put the situation to rest and just move forward. Meanwhile, we have this sweet moment where, since Pinkie Pie is banned from the cafeteria, Fluttershy just brings her a little snack, which is a sweet little moment. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. But they see that Rainbow Dash has already taken a lifeboat out. She's, far out to sea. They try to contact her on her cell phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. So, Sunset teams up with Sidetwide to get a lifeboat and go explore and try to find Rainbow Dash and bring her back. Meanwhile, Applejack says that she'll take care of, getting the boat back up and running, since she's good at repairing various machinery with the bus and the tractors and what have you. And, Pinkie Pie, Rarity, and Fluttershy will do their best on support. So, Sunset Shimmer and Sidetwise set out to kind of, find Rainbow Dash. And they end up going to a nearby island, docking, finding Rainbow Dash's, life vessel, lifeboat and all that, and a nearby helpful parrot who calls out, because Rainbow Dash, for the most part, speaks a lot in the third person, or at least has moments where she's just like, I'll explore that jungle, or my name isn't Rainbow Dash. Moments to kind of psych herself up, and the parrot overheard and, helps direct the girls in that, direction for the most part. And Sidetwide, not being a jungle fairy for the most part, has a bit of a rough time in the jungle for the most part. But they do manage to stumble upon Rainbow Dash, who's sinking in the muck, in the quicksand and all that good stuff. And Rainbow Dash admits that ultimately she might have been wrong about the whole situation, and she feels bad about ruining her friend's vacation and all that good stuff, only for a magical plant to sprout out, just out from the bush and all that good stuff, to try to eat them all, which is a very intense situation for the most part. So Sidetwide does her best to use her magic to hold off the plant monster. Sunset Shimmer tries her best to try to rescue Rainbow Dash, only for the plant monster to break free and smack into the, quicksand, revealing to Sunset Shimmer that there's equestrian magic here. So she dunks Rainbow Dash into the, equestrian magic pool, and then jumps in with Sidetwide, only for them to come out on the other side in Equestria, which goes to show that, there is yet another portal out there, that there is equestrian magic out in the human world for the most part. And, it's alive and well. And, naturally, Sidetwise starts freaking out, just like, oh my god, what am I? much mirroring, Twilight Sparkle's, the original's reaction when she came back as a human. So, we get this kind of nice moment where it's really just funny to see her freak out, and the kind of inability both of them have, being actual ponies again. Well, for the first time, they're just like, oh, I can't focus, hooves, what? Can't do things, wings, what is this? And so ultimately they decide that, hey, ultimately the magic was confined to this one remote island out in the middle of nowhere, and ultimately the threat was just non-existent, so why don't we just kind of hang out here in Equestria, have some fun, show us around and all that good stuff. So for the most part, they're just like, okay, yeah, our friends aren't in any danger, any real danger, it's just a regular old storm, so why don't we just kind of have some fun for the most part. Only for their friends to be in life-threatening danger with massive lightning striking all around. Applejack is doing her best to get the, ship online, and the others are doing their best to kind of calm the passengers, but with the Storm King's magic in the air and just raining lightning all around, it's just creating all this havoc and mass chaos on the boat. Meanwhile, Sunset takes the girls to, try to get to Ponyville Castle, the Castle of Friendship, and trying not to be seen because it could create some really awkward situations, much like when Rainbow Dash almost meets Rainbow Dash. It's just a hard thing to kind of explain for the most part to regular old pony folk. So they slowly make their way to the Castle of Friendship. Where we see Spike trying to hang a picture for the most part. And we have this sweet little moment where Twilight and Sunset reunite, and we have, Twilight being like, instantly figuring out, it's just like, oh, you came not from the basement, you must have found another portal, which Sidetwice immediately kind of taking with Twilight in the fact that it's just like, oh wow, she figured that out fast, I like her. Also of note, Sidetwice doesn't have wings. Very interesting. I just thought that was worth mentioning. It's just like, unlike Twilight, Sidetwice doesn't have any wings, so it's just like, that's interesting. Princessification doesn't really carry out to all her other counterparts. But for the most part, they decide they'll just chill out. They want to hang out with Twilight, just kind of see Sunset's all stomping grounds and all that good stuff. Only for the boat to finally get back online, but it's just running at full throttle. She can't crank her down to a nominal speed, and the lightning ends up knocking out the steering, and they end up heading for the same island that the other girls were on previously. Meanwhile, Pinkie Pie has this funny moment where she's just like, "Hey Sunset, hey Rainbow Dash, hi pony who doesn't look like Twilight with glasses." It's just like, what? But we have these funny moments where Sidetwice tries her best to use her magical horn to kind of, pick up food and all that good stuff. Meanwhile, the ship ends up being badly damaged. Water floods in, ships going down like the friggin' Titanic. Meanwhile, hearing about the various adventures of Twilight in the world of Equestria, Sidetwice realizes that yes, their counterparts are very much like superheroes, very much like they are for the most part. So it's just like she realizes, yes, maybe they are in fact just actual superheroes for the most part, defending their world from the forces of evil magic. One such evil magic, as Twilight goes on to speak of, is the recent adventure they had with the Storm King, showing off his staff that he used to absorb all the various princesses' magic, bound in this cloth that seals it away. But Rainbow Dash notices that this cloth bears the same emblem she saw in the water, and as soon as Twilight realizes that, she's just like, yo, did you see magical storms, lightning, unnatural phenomenons and all that in your world? And they're just like, yeah. And Twilight's just like, yeah, you gotta get back to your friends and seal away the magic of the Storm King that probably leaked out into your world when he had all the magic of the princesses and he unleashed it upon the world. Some of it probably leaked out into your world in a secluded area where the portal was, potentially, drowning your friends in a continuous storm. So Rainbow Dash, happy to kind of get some adventure in, decides it's hero time, alluding to Ben 10. But the ship is fastly sinking. Pinkie Pie tries to get everyone to the lightning boats, only for that to be fried by the lightning. This is a malicious storm, like seriously. And it starts raining down on everybody, just causing havoc on the ship and showing the emblem of the Storm King in the skies yet again. Meanwhile, Rainbow Dash, Sunset Shimmer, and Sidetwice make their way back to the island, back to the shore, see the havoc being caused by the storm. They all group up around the staff to rein in the magic of the Storm King into the staff, quelling the storm. They all kind of make up for the most part, mostly Rainbow Dash and Sidetwice, saying that Sidetwice feels that she should have believed more in Rainbow Dash, whereas Rainbow Dash feels like she shouldn't have been so overzealous to find trouble, and they should kind of take it as it comes their way. So they really reach at least a consensus on this whole situation. But the parrot, actually speaking under its own terms, not repeating what they say, actually kind of calls their attention to the fact that their ship is still sinking in the waves. So Rainbow Dash, in even more of an allusion to Ben 10, hits her element of harmony in order to activate her powers, rushing Sidetwi and Sunset out to the boat. They get back on. They reveal that yes, this whole situation was caused by equestrian magic, but they know that they need to handle these situations as best they can when it comes their way, because they're basically superheroes and they have a responsibility, to use their great power in a responsible way. So they all get ready, team up, go in to do their best in order to save everyone. But because all the lifeboats are fried, then they're not quite sure. And not to mention they still haven't decided on a battle cry for the most part. But Pinkie Pie cries out the one battle cry that I've actually accepted, and that's just, "Let's light it up, ladies." And they all power up to their super duper magical girl forms, and Rarity creates a boat out of her crystalline diamond abilities. Sidetwi uses her magic to ferry people onto the lifeboat. Fluttershy, gets all the animals, these life jackets, to keep them protected and, kind of ferry them onto the boat as well, with Rainbow Dash doing her best to rush, help out anyone who's kind of trapped or can't get to the, front of the boat quick enough. And, we even have a nice sweet little moment where Sunset uses her powers of empathy to kind of get information from a hysterical child. Okay, and just kind of help her find her mother for the most part. And Applejack uses her power to kind of help people just get out of their rooms when they're trapped and all that. And we even have a moment where Pinkie Pie kind of makes up for the most part with the chef, who is trapped under, has her foot trapped, of course, by the bun cake, so that Pinkie Pie can finally get her chance to, nom on the bun cake. And they get everyone to the life raft. Rainbow Dash rushes them all to the island. Everyone is safe and sound for the most part, having these little moments here and there. And we even have a moment where we find out the one dude's voice was completely fake for some reason, which I kind of question. I'm just like, who is this guy? Why was he faking that accent? And like, what was his situation with Rarity? I'm at a loss for what that was all about, because it doesn't feel like any closure was brought on there. But I don't know if it's just like something that'll be brought back in the regular series proper, or if we're gonna see that later on. Like, raises a lot of questions. But with the ship going down, they're kind of like at a loss for the most part on how to get home. But Sunset realizes that she can use the portal through the jungle in order to get everyone home, but it's just like, yeah, it's gonna be a little weird. So she has to kind of try her best to kind of sneak everyone to the Castle of Friendship in order to get to the portal to take them all back to Canterlot High. So that's where the movie ends. I know I've gone on ad nauseum about this. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I am going to be covering the entirety of what I can of the final season of Friendship of Magic, and any kind of Friendship is Magic little elements here and there that we might see along the way, if I can get around to it. But I'll cover as much of the Equestria Girl series as well, just to kind of wrap things up for the most part. But I want to thank you all for kind of, joining me for the most part. If you are interested in seeing more situations where I talk about Friendship is Magic, Equestria Girls, or whatever, just tell me your thoughts on any series for the most part. Just what do you think? How do you feel? Do you enjoy any of the Equestria Girls movies and stuff? Are you more about the regular series, or have you fallen off for the most part? Or are you disappointing on me that I'm talking about pony shit? I will understand either way. But if you like this video, feel free to leave me a like, and thank you so much for making it this far. If you didn't, feel free to leave me a dislike. I'll understand, you know. And hey, tell me what you think, your thoughts on what I can do to improve in the comment section below. But hey, how about subscribing, because I'll definitely be bringing you more pony content in the near future as we have the final season premiering. But until then, find me on any social media platforms just by googling Duuz-Diz-Din, and hit the bell icon if you never want to miss a video. But until then, stay friendly, people, and stay magic.